Have you ever felt like the world was unpredictable and that you were the only one that saw all the dangers around you? If so, then you might be a type 6. So if you have ever been typed as a type 6 or know someone that is a type 6, this video is for you. I'm Enneagram Ephraim, and I'm going to be your Enneagram coach. And so today we're going to be diving into the Enneagram 6, and they're called the Loyal Guardian. And the type 6 can be described as loyal. And these people are committed to those that they trust. They stand by the people through thick and thin. Even if someone earns the loyalty of a 6, they usually have them for life. But at first, it does take some time to earn the loyalty of a 6, but when they do, they stick through the good times and the bad. They're also described as responsible. They take their obligations seriously, and they strive to be reliable, ensuring nothing falls through the cracks. These people can become the ultimate planner. So imagine if you're going on a road trip. These people are going to have to make sure that the gas is filled up in the tank. They're going to make sure the tires have the right air pressure. They're going to make sure that there's enough snacks, the right music. They're going to make sure everyone has drinks. They're going to be looking to know where they're going and even have alternative routes if need be. They've checked the weather to make sure that the weather is in good conditions. They know where all the rest stops are at because that's how they like to plan. They like to make sure they plan for as many things as possible. So these people may have a plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, and as many as they see needs for whatever the occasion is. Which leads to the next one. Type 6 can be described as very vigilant people. They're always scanning the horizon, preparing for what's coming next. And these people like to be problem solvers, and they avoid any potential pitfalls. And so they can kind of live into a fire drill mode. And so if you grew up in school, you remember the fire drills. They would pull the fire alarm, and they would say, "Okay, everyone, line up in class, and then we're going to go out this way." And then you get outside, and then you line up somewhere else across the street, and they do a roll call, make sure everyone's here, and that is to prepare us for if a fire actually happens. That is not for when a fire happens, as if a possibility. And that kind of how they always think. They're always scanning what could happen. And let's make a plan for that just in case. And that's going on and on and on daily in their head, which leads to the next one. They can be described as anxious people because their mind is always running through every possibility that could go wrong. And so they struggle because of their inner voice is always warning them to be worried about everything and also the outcome of it. And so if you've ever gotten a text that says, "Hey, we need to talk," many people are worried maybe about one or two things, or they just pick up the phone and what is it? What do you need? 6s are a little bit different. They've thought of at least 100 worst case problems in that one phrase, "Hey, we need to talk." Oh no, are they breaking up with me? Am I losing my job? Am I getting fired? And it goes rapidly to every worst problem where maybe people just have one or two issues. They would have at least 10, 20, 30 right there instantly. Worst case problems. And then that leads to them, they can also be, even though they are known to be loyalists and loyal people, they can still be very skeptical of the people that they are loyal to and trust because they want to know that trust, even though it's not freely given, it is earned to a 6. They never are just loyal to anyone. People do have to earn their loyalty. However, think of it kind of as, to earn their loyalty, think of it as a chair. When most people see a chair, they just grab the chair and sit down. A 6 is a little bit different. They might come up to it and they might wobble the chair a bit to make sure that it's going to be sturdy. because they know that their loyalty means something to them. They want to make sure that this chair isn't going to tip over and fall over. They want to make sure that it's sturdy for them to sit on. And so they can become a little bit skeptical to people. But it's because they know that their loyalty means something, and they want to make sure that they can fully trust this person. Now, coming to the core motivations of a 6. Again, if you don't know them, it is the core fear. This is the thing that emotionally you want to avoid and run away from. And then the core desire. This is the thing they want to obtain. And they have a core weakness. This is the thing they use to stay away from their fears while trying to obtain what they desire. And then there's something called the core longing of your heart. This is the thing you want to hear and experience. Let's start with the core fear. Core fear is being without support, security, or guidance. Feeling abandoned, blamed, or left to handle something alone. So the big one of a core fear is abandonment is huge. Now, 6s may not have an extreme version of being abandoned as a child, but every 6 can vividly remember being left at the grocery store. You know, when parents are busy and the kid wanders off and they're now checking out, they get to the car and go, oh crap, I left my kid in the grocery store. And so they run back in. The 6 visibly remembers going to a different aisle and going, where's my parent? And now they're full-on panic. Even though their parent may still be in the next aisle over, they can still remember that feeling being abandoned. Now the core desire is to have security, guidance, and support. So this is something that they craved to have. However, a lot of times they will challenge leadership or the people that they have loyal to, and because they want to make sure I can trust you. So a lot of times they can come off as a devil's advocate because they're asking a lot of questions because their mind is coming up with all these different things, and they're wondering, have they thought about these things? And when these things get answered, usually they feel more compelled, okay, I can give my trust over to this person. So don't be surprised if 6s ask questions, and these questions are going to come off as, but what if? What if this happens? What will I do when this happens? Because 6s will have all the questions because that's running through their mind. Have they thought about this? What about that? And that's how they try to come up with a plan to have security. Now, 6s, to the people that they care for, when they ask this question, though, how are you? They really want to know, how are you? Because many people, when they hear this, oh, how are you? Oh, I'm doing good. I'm fine. I'm great. We give some quick one-liner, and then that's it of the conversation. But for 6, how are you means something really different. They really want to know, how are you? And I have a 6 friend who will take it next to make sure that this point gets across. They want your blood sample and stool sample because they want to make sure medically you are okay, and they really want to know, how are you? And that's how deeply they want to know. It's not just something they say as they pass by. It's nothing surface. They really truly care about the people. Now, 6s do have what I call a 6th sense. And what I mean by that is they make great lie detectors. Even though they don't have evidence, they usually know when people are lying to them. And it's just an internal thing, and it goes off, and they're like, you just lied to me. Even though they don't know why or have the evidence to support it, but deep down they know this person just lied to me. And so the kind of the joke is, when you win a 6 over, you get them for life. And what I mean by that is, if your house is on fire, they're not calling the fire department. They're probably running into the fire to try to help you out. While also, if you lose the loyalty of a 6, they have no problem burning your house down also. And so it's a little bit of both going back and forth of how far their loyalty will go. Now, the core weakness of a 6 is called anxiety. And this is where they scan the horizon of life and trying to predict and prevent, especially worst case scenarios from happening. And so they stay in a remaining constant state of apprehension and worry. And so I always kind of say 6s over here, the one side of all the reasonable and logical things that you need to be worried about. 6s are driving to work and home, and so they're going, oh man, I saw construction. I got to be worried because usually during constructions, nails get left out, and I could get a flat tire. Now I got to go take it in and can change out my tire because it could get a flat. And so they worry about constantly little things like that. But then on the other side, they go to the illogical things like an alien abduction. And then everything in between, the logical and illogical things to think about, they worry about. And so they are constantly worried about everything, especially worst case scenarios. Now, the longing of the heart of a 6, what they want to hear and experience is that you are safe and secure. And so I have the 2 Bible verses to go with this. We'll go Old Testament first. It's the Joshua 1:9. It says, "This is my command. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." And so if you don't know the backstory of Joshua, they've been wandering the desert for years, and now they're at this point, and Moses is out of the picture. Now it's Joshua leading the people of Israel to the Promised Land. And it's not, the Promised Land sounds great, but you know what's there? There's other people that are inhabiting this land that God is asking to go take it from them. And if you know the story, they sent reports. These people are bigger, they're more in number, and that can seem intimidating and scary. And also there's the unknown of this new land that we've never been to. And so that is what God is calling us to the 6s is, I'm going to go with you. And so you don't have to worry about that. And then also the New Testament version of this verse is the Matthew 28:20. It says, this is Jesus speaking. It says, "Teach these new disciples to obey all the commands I have given you, and be sure of this, I am with you always, even to the end of age." Right after this, Jesus ascends to heaven, and 6s like to remind me that feels a little bit like abandonment. You said you were going to be with us, and then you left us. But I always like to remind the 6, what you need to remember that Jesus is with you always to the end of the age, because in the Gospel of John it says he told his disciples, I do have to go so that the helper can come, which is the Holy Spirit. And so even though Jesus physically isn't with us, his Spirit is inside you. And so that is kind of how the 6s need to trust, because how the 6s operate in, they're different from Enneagram 1. Because Enneagram 1s have one loud voice, where Enneagram 6s usually have what we call the inner committee. And the inner committee, it goes back to their weakness. It's this inner voice. It's multiple voices. Think like a board member, where everyone is saying, hey, this is what you got to worry about. Hey, this is what you got to worry. Oh, did you forget about that? You forgot about this. And so they have their voices, but it feels like a multiple set of voices constantly telling them what they need to worry about. And the point of this is to remind the 6s that there are things they should be worried about. These things are real. They're not imaginary, but they have to also remember, like a board member, they're just members, but the Holy Spirit should be the CEO of our life, who we really get direction to. And so you should take these worries to the Holy Spirit and trust that the Holy Spirit is going to guide you through all these situations. So just kind of a last word of encouragement to 6s. You don't have to live in a state of fear of what will happen. Your loyalty and your problem-solving skills is a true gift to this world, but your true security doesn't come with the greatest plan that you can come up with. Because at the end of it all, you have to remember that it's not your planning that's going to give you security. It's going to be the Holy Spirit that does. And that you can trust the Holy Spirit. Because even when the Holy Spirit calls you into uncharted territories, that you're going to be okay. Because the Holy Spirit is going to be with you. Because as Jesus says, I will be with you always till the very end. And that is something that if Jesus says you can trust, then you should trust in that. So I just got a question for the sixes. If there's something that people don't understand about you that you would love others to know, put that in the comments. It's always good to hear from them so that we can understand sixes a little bit better. And then also, if you haven't already, I have a free guide for you. And for anyone that wants to start their Enneagram journey, it's in the description. All you got to do is click it. And then finally, if you haven't already, all you have to do is hit the subscribe button. Words are hard. And then I'll see you guys in the next video.